Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Steve with Census Fidelium coming at you with Clown Planet for Friday, January 16th. Pope St. Marcelinus, the first day. If you're scoring at home or have a calendar, welcome to the program. Hope you've had a great week. Hope you're having a great evening. Hope I don't ruin your weekend or evening doing this. Just again, this is last show I did. I think it was Monday. Life can't do it every day. Try to, but can't. So here's a little kind of like a weekend roundup, I guess. Even though I do News from the Pew on Thursdays with Rick. So if you go to the News from the Pew channel, you'll see yesterday's show. Rick and I went at it a little bit on the ICE thing. So if you want some a heated and friendly conversation, no one yelled at each other, but it was fun. I like getting pushback. I dig that. I don't like yes men or anything like that. Rick's not one like that, so it's good to have a little good candid debate. Again, if you want to see it, it's on News from the Pew channel for yesterday's show. You'll enjoy it, I think. Let's get right to it. So we're not here doing this till tomorrow on the East Coast time of these United States. Also, happy Lee Jackson Day. I just triggered everybody, right? Today, we celebrate Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson for being symbols of Southern resolve, leadership, and sacrifice. Today, be unapologetically Southern. Today, we celebrate our heroes' history, our culture, and the values passed down through generations. Happy Lee Jackson Day. Bring it. If anybody haters, bring it. Just put it in the comment section. I'll see it. Remember, even up to Dwight Eisenhower, he loved Robert E. Lee. He talked about him being one of the greatest people ever. It wasn't just till the woke times when everyone decided to go get all bent out of shape about everything that they don't like, even though they don't know anything. Most of the people that get triggered anymore, they couldn't give you a 2-minute synopsis, maybe a minute. I'll give them 30 seconds. They probably couldn't do 30-second synopsis of why they don't like somebody. Anyway, here's again, happy Lee and Stonewall Jackson Day. Good evening. Sorry I'm late. Don't worry. I just got everything, Alan. I just got everything put together. So you probably got a 5-second warning, if that. I'm surprised if anybody got an alert on this. So, speaking of this, I am running. Where is it? Oh yeah, I have so many now that I don't get the things on the back end anymore, do I? StreamYard Brave, StreamYard Streaming. Forget it. I'm not gonna be able to find it. Yeah. Anyways, I'll put it in a section. I'll put it in the thing underneath. I am running a fundraiser for Census Fidelium. Now it's a 501c. If you can, please contribute, even if it's $1. Man, if all the subscribers just sent $1, you would see. I turn the ads off. If everyone did Patreon for $1, I'd turn the ads off. It'd be that easy. Anyways, check out underneath. I'll put in the show notes to how you can contribute. Please, that'd be great. Contrary to popular belief, I don't rake it in. I'm in a rental, for crying out loud. I'm in a shirt with some stains on it. So, trust me, I wouldn't change. You wouldn't see me driving a Lamborghini or anything like that. But anyways, please help if you can. If not, thank you anyways. Snake Farmer says Lincoln County exotic animal ban threatens business. I'm in this county underneath it, the Gaston County. That's in Lincoln County right above me. So they have a new rule in Lincoln County. So no one can own exotic animals unless their permit allows them to be grandfathered in. But a local snake farmer says the rules could hurt his chances of staying open. Now, this guy apparently has a viper farm. Oh, great. And he says he uses it for medicinal things to try to get the venom out and things like that. But anyways, overall, it's a good idea not to have exotic animals in, because you hear about, like, down in Florida, the pythons. You have to pay people to go down there and shoot them and things like that. People have exotic animals and then just let them run. They get too big and let them run. Just the other day, just a couple months ago, we had a monkey running around town. I think it attacked a kid. I don't know if it was in a Walmart or what, but yeah, monkey got loose. Here is DEI Justice Ketanji Jackson. Isn't it Brown? KBJ, Brown Jackson. Earlier this week, defending men in women's sports with an other word salad at the Supreme Court. Quote, is trying someone I'm not even gonna try. I'll just let it's so bad that I'll let her say it herself. Is she her? Is she? Yeah.
You're not treating
Oh, was it getting hung up?
classification. And so to the extent that you have an individual who says what is happening in this law is that it is treating someone who is transgender, but who does not have, because of the medical interventions and the things that have been done, who does not have the same threat to physical competition and safety and all of the reasons that the state puts forward, that's actually a different class, says this individual. So you're not treating the class the same, and you're not, how do you respond to that? In other words, the as-applied challenge essentially redefines the class, or one could think of it as that. And so what's wrong with that, number one, and how do you square that with our holdings in Caban, which Lair later described in this way? In other words, Lair suggested that Caban was establishing that as-applied challenges of this nature do exist.
Certainly, take the second question first.
Yes.
It'll take a second.
Caban says nothing about as-applied. I know that Lair says later this was an as-applied case, but simply reading Caban, it does not say that. It simply applies intermediate.
No, I understand, but those two cases were in juxtaposition with one another,
Yes.
and Lair comes out the way it does, distinguishing Caban on the basis that it's an as-applied challenge, and we in Lair have a facial challenge, and it's basically the same facts. So if those...
I'm sorry, I can't do that to you guys. I can't torture you any longer than I've already tortured you, so apologize for the torturing. I think she actually has like a cue card in front. You have to say juxtaposition and other things that are big words for her and be able to say things in a sentence. And then just keep ranting after that. RFKJ's U.S. Health and Human Services to launch investigative study on the connections between 5G, soon to be 6G, mobile phones, neurological damage, and cancer, which is kind of funny that it's ironic that there's a photo. The photo they use is him putting the cell device to his ear. Yeah, if you don't know much about this, it's talking about EVs, not EVs. It's late night. Not electromagnetic pulses, but EMFs. Because if some people are more sensitive than others, I know if I put a cell phone up to my ear and talk on it for a little bit, it will be hot in that area. If you haven't tried it, try it. See if you are that sensitive or not. Some people have the Apple Watches, and if they take it off, they'll have remnants of it because of the EMFs. Depending on what it is, they sell EMF blankets. I actually have it. Long ago, I was able to get an EMF blocker for cell phones, so I have one on the back of this one, and just to keep the radioactivity out. Which is kind of telling why they have it. You usually put in your pocket and you have the radioactivity there. And maybe there's a correlation between what they're trying not to have you have kids. News thought on that. Here is James Fishbach. Do you know who this guy is? If you don't, if you're in Florida, you probably know who he is. He's running for governor of Florida. And, well, he did a show with Tucker, and one of the things he mentioned is, as governor of Florida, I'd invest entirely from the $385 million in Israeli bonds that goes to Florida now, and create $385 million down payment assistance program for young married couple. Ron DeSantis is a Zionist. I like the guy, but he's a Zionist. He runs Florida well, but he's a Zionist. He's been to Florida, he's been to Israel the last couple of weeks, a couple times to sign bills out there. There's a non-Zionist running for the governor of Florida. By the way, he's not the Trump appointed guy too. This guy is legit. I've told friends easily, he wins, I'll be moving to Florida. Here's a couple things. He's running for Florida next governor. I'll stop the HB1 scam. Tell Blackstone they can't buy our homes. Cancel AI data centers and abolish private property taxes. Ain't that? I'll play his little thing for you. There's other things on this that we'll just let him go ahead and play. But
my name is James Fishbach, and I'm running to succeed Ron DeSantis as Florida's next Republican governor. I'm running for Florida governor so I can make life more affordable for you and your family, easier to afford groceries, to buy a home, to raise a family, and when it's all said and done, to retire with dignity. I'll do that by stopping the H-1B scam so our workers, especially our college grads, can get jobs again. I'll tell Blackstone, Airbnb, and foreign investors that no, in Florida, you can't buy our homes because our homes are for families. And I'll stop the construction of any AI data center that threatens to raise our electricity bills or poison our water supply. And I'll completely and totally eliminate property taxes for every Florida resident, because in America, you don't rent your home from the government. You own it, free and clear. Nowadays, not all Republicans are the same. If a Republican politician supports the H-1B scam that fires our workers, he can't be our next governor. If he goes out and supports the building of AI data centers that threaten our electric bills and our water supply, he can't be our next governor. And if he goes to Congress and does nothing for us but makes millions of dollars trading stocks for himself, he can't be our next governor. Congressman Byron Donalds can't be our next governor because he won't fight for Florida like Ron DeSantis has. I will. I'll fight to preserve Governor DeSantis' wins by keeping Florida free from DEI, radical transgenderism, Soros-backed prosecutors, child predators, voter fraud, and the millions of illegals that invaded our country on Kamala Harris's watch. I'll do that because, unlike Byron Donalds, I'm not a politician. I'm an investor and a businessman. I stood up to Wall Street. I sued the Federal Reserve, and I filed a landmark brief with the Supreme Court defending President Trump's right to fire corrupt federal officials. I started Incubate Debate, a free high school debate league for thousands of kids across Florida so they could learn how to debate, discuss, and grow as Americans. I love our state. I am a fourth-generation Floridian. My great-grandfather fought in World War I and then owned a small hotel on Fort Lauderdale Beach. My grandfather fought in World War II and ran 750 head of cattle in Okeechobee. My father proudly drove the city bus in Broward County, where I was born and raised. I went to Florida public schools from kindergarten to graduation. Even though I grew up in South Florida, I now...
Anyway, here's a video of Jay Collins leaving a pro-life gala after Fishbach enters the room.
Excuse me, Jay Collins.
So yeah, there was a big pro-life thing that they went to, and again Fishbach went to this thing. See, apparently Collins left as well. I mean, yeah, Donalds left after Fishbach came in. These guys don't like him. Here's, as governor, I will proudly bankrupt OnlyFans in Florida. There's candidate for Florida Governor Fishbach has pitched a proposal to stop the influence of porn industry, a 50% sin tax on income earned by OnlyFans creators. Here's let's see. Here's the March for Preborn confirmed speaker, James Fishbach, gubernatorial candidate. So we already know he's pro-life, all that, because on his website I couldn't find that. So, but he's speaking at a pro-life March for the Preborn. So I guess he's okay in there.
Doctors, lawyers, nurses, and now they feel like the only way they can get by is by selling their bodies online to men in distant lands, and I'm running to stop that.
Fishbach claims the move would raise around $200 million a year, saying he plans to put the money from those taxable funds towards the education system.
If you're a man or woman and you are selling your body on the internet, you can either have two options. The first of which is you can pay the state of Florida 50% so we can raise teacher pay, or you can quit doing that and do something that's morally righteous.
When asked if Fishbach plans to propose a sin tax on consumers, he shared he's not opposed to the idea.
I'd be open to anything and everything. I want to be very clear. Both the creators and the consumers of that content are in the wrong.
I can't argue with this. Hey, and you know, if you're going, hey, well, Steve, you don't like government being involved. The governor of any state can do anything he wants like this. It's totally cool for him to do that. Here's a great tweet. My ancestors fought on both sides of the Civil War. I will always honor them, and I will never apologize for American history. because Donald comes out with this thing that America's a racist country with a dark past. The Northeast definitely was. Not words. Let's see. Anyway, yeah, check this guy out. This is pretty impressive. Here's I'm running for Florida governor to bring back old Florida cattle, citrus, space, agriculture. He was, like I said, he was on Tucker's show the other day. Here's some good news. Man, another good news. They're starting out some good news a little bit, for a change. Mandatory digital ID in the UK is DEED, deed, or DEAD. Public backlash actually worked. Bad news is they just rebranded it as voluntary while they keep building the pipes, partnership, and verification networks behind the steeds. As Jason says, stay vigilant, stay loud. But hey, that's a W. Take it for what it's worth right now. BBC government drops plans for mandatory digital ID to work in the UK. So hey, yeah, little golf clap. Good job. Again, they will just come back and like Hydra, just come back with a different head. Here's 10th Amendment Center. Well, going downhill real quick, wasn't I? Talking about the healthcare plan that Once a Future King President DJT just came out with was it yesterday? Yeah. Trump says he unveils the great healthcare plan to lower costs and deliver money to the American people. As 10th Amendment Center says, Trump is a socialist. Yes, he is. And before you get ticked off or triggered or mad or any of that, remember what the definition of socialism is: when government takes over private property or runs private industries, I mean. So government's already doing that. They're all doing it. So if you're thinking, hey, we just like our socialists, we got to have the red version versus the blue version. They're all socialists. I tell people that all the time. You look at the 1928 or 1926 presidential campaign or candidacy for Socialist Party of America. You pretty much check off all the boxes. You look at the communist presidential platforms in the 20s, they check off all the boxes. Both parties actually quit running because the GOP and the Democrats were doing their work for them. Why bother doing it? Go ahead. He goes, this in and of itself is totally impeachable. The socialist Democrats are going to use this as a precedent to make it worse so they won't impeach. And the Republicans pretend to oppose socialism while expanding it more than almost anyone. So they won't either. And that's true. Remember, this is government healthcare versus government healthcare. Which government healthcare do you want? Now it's a cool government healthcare. If they want to get it right, you get government out of healthcare, get it out totally, and never touch it again. Let the insurance companies do what they want to do. Because guess what? If one insurance company goes nuts, the other insurance companies might not go nuts. They'll go cheaper and get more people. Just like anything else, it gets everything cheaper when you have competition. It's not like you let them go and then, government goes away, they're going to have $40,000 a month in healthcare insurance costs. Guess what? You're getting that now with government healthcare because it's the way it is. Everything gets more expensive. The quality gets worse. You get them out. Guess what happens? The industry probably blows up. You get better treatment, better equipment, better this, all across the board. Now, right now, you got government insurance, Medicare runs the whole thing. They have to follow. I was in the medical cell industry. I was an assistant rep for years back in the late 20 double aughts. And I remember seeing we'd had the cost, the L codes. If Medicare didn't say, hey, we don't cover that code anymore, Medicare didn't cover that code anymore. Guess who also didn't cover that code anymore? Nobody else. It was one way. It was one trick mind. They blamed the insurance company, but Medicare government is the reason why you have all these problems. They're the ones that keep away. You can't cross state borders to buy or sell. They're the ones that won't do tort reform. They're the ones that won't do all this other stuff. The insurance company is great? No. But they're pretty much tied up because of government. But they might want that too. I don't know. They might actually like that. Canadian, British, and German troops in Greenland, but Trump and White House stay defiant. In a surprising twist, European troops have landed in Greenland, but the White House remains unfazed. What does this mean for the Trump's Arctic ambitions? Breaking news: Trump's chilling threat to Greenland allies in new takeover warning. What does that say? We'll click it. The threat is Trump's latest effort to absorb the Arctic island one way or another. Yeah, we got a clip on that one here. Here, Trump saying the questions the guy interviewing asked the premier of Greenland said today, we prefer to stay with Denmark. Trump, who said that? The premier of Greenland. Trump, well, that's their problem. I disagree with them. I don't know who he is. I don't know anything about him, but it's going to be a big problem for him. Now, during the Cold War, I think there was 31 bases in Greenland. And it wasn't until recently. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Forgive me for that. I went to. That's me doing that. All right, here's what you missed. Sorry. Here's the 10th Amendment Center talking about the Trump and socialist parts. Here's the Trump threatening its higher tariffs on Greenland allies with new takeover warning. Hey, thanks. More tariff warnings. And what this was the one before that. It's not going back, is it? There it is. Canadian, British, and German troops in Greenland, but Trump and White House stay defiant. Sorry, that's the second time I've done that, by the way. Just forget about doing it. Here's the question. That's their problem. I disagree with them. Okay, now back to the thing. There was 31 bases in Greenland from the U.S. had during the Cold War. And then when Pappy Bush or Jr. Got in, they wanted to cut down, so they cut down to one. And it still works fine. Even during 31 times, people didn't care about the bases being there. They pretty much left everybody alone, and there was just the bases there. They could still do that. They don't have to take over Greenland, but that's why you got the North American Tech Date. Again, look that up. Do a little Google search. Go on the Last America Vagabond. You'll see that. What is the North American Tech Date? Really graceful YouTube channel. She has a video on that as well. What that is. It's pretty much all of North America, Venezuela, Colombia, and Greenland, and taking over that whole thing. One massive, quote unquote, nation. Which you get is centralization. We have decentralized states, 50 of them, and then they get unified in theory into one nation. That whole pledge nonsense, one nation, which it's not a nation. And then what happens after that? You get bigger. The empire grows. Canada, Mexico comes in. Venezuela, Greenland. Now, the end result of centralization, as Professor De Rosa from Florida International mentioned, is globalism. So if you're for all this, enjoy the globalism coming. Here's Denmark's foreign minister after the Greenland meeting. It's clear the president has a wish to conquer Greenland. That's not diplomacy. That's colonial language out loud. Here's it's Carney. Canada will declare war on U.S. for Greenland. Isn't that's really? I like to see how he's going to do that. We'll go to war. It states Canada will go to war with the U.S. to defend Greenland. Okay. I don't. I like your spunk, but okay. Here's the Mises Wire. The Republicans' conservatism is about defending the status quo. That's pretty much the phrase that pays right there. Friedrich von Hayek explains in his article, Why I Am Not a Conservative, that given a choice between the progressive parties that destroyed liberty, that's Democrats and the Republicans. Remember, there is no conservative party. You think you're in one if you're a GOPer, but they're not conservative. That's the only place really you can go, because one is just a little bit nuttier than the other, but there is no conservative party. And the conservative parties that defend the status quo. The classical liberal will, quote, generally have little choice but to support the conservative parties. That is because there are many parallels between the classical liberal prioritization of individual liberty and the conservative principle of limited government in countries with a tradition of liberty. For example, Hayek argues that in the United States, it is possible to defend individual liberty by defending long-established institutions. Hayek further observes that in the context, conservatism aligns with the defense of liberty. Quote, in a country like the United States, this is not a country, it's a federal republic, which is on a whole still has free institutions. The defense of the existing is often a defense of freedom. This reflects the strand of conservative tradition seen in the Magna Carta, which limits state power in the men of big government state power in order to enhance individual liberty. However, a conservative principle of limited government was all but extinguished in Lincoln's Revolution, and today's Lincolnites offer no meaningful opposition to progressivist encroachments on liberty couched in egalitarian language. Spit it out, Steve. They seem to fear that society will descend into the cesspit if people are not forced by the federal government to embrace equality on pain of being persecuted by the DOJ for violating civil rights. In this, they are almost as authoritarian as the progressives. Nowhere is this trend clearer than in the Republican commitment to the equality and civil rights regimes introduced by progressives, which many Republicans see as one of Lincoln's greatest legacies. They see the GOP as the true party of civil rights and regard Lincoln as the civil rights hero who created what the Marxist historian Eric Foner termed the second founding of America based on the plagiarized civil rights dream of MLKJ, which his holy day for the United States is on Monday. Being sarcastic. A recent example of uniparty bipartisanism is seen in the recent unveiling of the new statue of Barbara Johns. Many observers were rather surprised to see Mike Johnson, a Republican House Speaker, and Glenn Youngkin, Virginia's Republican governor, celebrating the replacement of a statue of Robert E. Lee that once stood at the Capitol. The statue of Lee had previously been removed from the instigation of the Democrats at the time, December 2020. The New York Times reported this. The statue of Robert E. Lee removed, blah, blah, blah. Amen. The Lincolnites have totally rejected the principles and values that played a significant role in the conservative thought of America's foundation. Among the memory-hold Southern traditionalists mentioned by Gutfred, two stand out: Robert Louis Dabney and M.E. Bradford. M.E. Bradford's great. You ever read his books, you'll like it. The words of Dabney quoted by Gutfred echo some of the points made by Hayek when he criticized the conservative tendency to defend whatever may happen to be the status quo. Dabney saw the Conservative Party at his time as, quote, a party which never conserves anything. Its history has been that it demurs to each aggression of the Progressive Party and aims to save its credit by the respectable growling, but always acquiesce in the innovation. What was the resisted novelty of yesterday is today one of the accepted principles of conservatism. Bradford also saw the danger of Lincolnites' devotion to perpetually exciting goals always just beyond our reach, a quest which imbues the state with unlimited power, a quote, statism covered by a patina of law. Bradford argued that Lincoln transformed himself into the Eastern Prince King and recast the meaning of the Declaration to give ex post constitutionality to his war. This, quote, opened the door to pretentious changes that finally touched even liberty. As state power becomes in practice whatever the federal government wants it to be in its never-ending quest to fulfill their promises of equality. The Declaration itself, Bradford argued, did not seek to introduce racial equality as now claimed by the Lincolnites. It was, in his view, a conservative declaration in the sense that it sought to conserve the rights of freeborn Englishmen against what they saw as the tyranny of the British crown, reflecting, quote, a political tradition that is conservative and contrary to Lincoln. The American revolutionaries were neither egalitarians nor social justice warriors, despite the best attempts of the GOP to portray the founders as civil rights activists. Bradford explains that egalitarianism is not a conservative principle, and on the contrary, equality as a moral or political imperative pursued as an end in itself. Equality with a capital E is the antonym of every legitimate conservative principle. Anyway, Hayek observes at the end, as the socialists have for a long time been able to pull harder, the conservatives have tended to follow the socialists and have adopted at appropriate intervals of time those ideas made respectable by radical propaganda. It has been regularly the conservatives who have compromised with socialism. Speaking of the AP, Trump to set largest ever U.S. delegation to the World Economic Forum in Davos next week. And this was, just in case you don't know, January 13th, 2026, 3 days ago. Once the future king, President DJT, will return to the WEF's annual meeting of business, political, and cultural elites in Davos next week, leading a record large U.S. delegation, organizers said on Tuesday. Geneva-based think tank says Trump, whose assertive foreign policy on issues as diverse as Venezuela and Greenland in recent months has stirred concerns among U.S. friends and foes alike, will be accompanied by 5 cabinet secretaries and other top officials for the event from Monday through January the 23rd. Total of 850 CEOs, blah, 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 bing, bing, bing. Don't worry, they'll have everything will be recorded. And I guarantee they're going to have clips of that for next week. Here's Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says that Elon Musk AI chatbot Grok will join Google's generative AI engine in operating inside the Pentagon network. Don't you get all warm and fuzzy about that? And in case you didn't, I had somebody say that Elon is not back or anything like that. There's Elon shaking hands with Pete Hegseth. Elon is back. He never went anywhere. Remember this from last week? I posted this, or this was Monday. I'm sorry. First day home. Drones represent the new frontier of American air superiority. Under Trump, we are entering a new era to defend our air superiority, to protect our borders and the interior of these United States. I've mentioned about this. Here's Derek Brooks. How many times do the MAGA idiots who think they are fighting for freedom need to be reminded that the immigration police state is a psyop? Don't worry. I got more of that at the end. Because that right there, what's going on is what it is. You got people fighting each other like this, just like the shooting. You got this guy, she deserved it. No, she didn't deserve it. And what are they doing in the background? The puppet masters are putting together a technocratic hellhole while we're fighting each other. Is C-SPAN going to cover the whole WEF event? Does anyone know? I don't have TV. I've never seen it on C-SPAN. It's on YouTube. They have their own channel. The World Economic Forum channel. Just type in World Economic Forum on YouTube. You'll see it. And they don't have a lot of views, depending. Well, just like YouTube right now. If you look at mine, if you put multiple views, multiple channels a day, or multiple videos a day, the first one gets views. The rest of them, no one even knows they exist. So if you look at mine, I posted something at 8 o'clock on lock. That one gets a decent number of views. And then after that, they get like 100. It's the way YouTube works now. So they'll have probably, I've watched the last few years, so you don't have to. I watched the WF, so you don't have to. They'll probably post 8 to 12 videos a day. And trust me, I haven't watched all of them because it's impossible to watch all. Each one's an hour long. And then there's a Q&A and all that stuff. It'll put you to sleep. You'll want to just, strangle. You want to do things to yourself you don't want to do if you watch it all at one time. So yeah, there'll be there's plenty of eyeballs looking at it. So there'll be clips. It took me a couple years to figure that out, that other people will watch it and you grab things out if someone says anything. So you don't have to watch all of them. But yeah, if you want to watch all of them and you want to put some penance on you, yeah, you can go to the WEF site and click subscribe and all that jazz. I'll show it to him. I'll pull it up and see, just in case you don't believe me. Stop playing. Okay, subscriptions. So let me go ahead over here. Where we at? Where we at there? World Economic Forum. There it is right there. So if you go to YouTube at the WEF, there you go. And you'll see all the ones from, it was 2 days ago. They post during the all through the month, all through the year. But you scroll down a little bit further, you'll get the last year's. It was 10 months ago. Here we go, right here. This is all the annual meetings from last year. See, 700 views, 800 views, 2,000 views, 500 views. So not a lot of people will watch them, but here's one almost got 100,000 views. And look at this one. Same, probably came out the same day. That was probably the first one that day. Next one was 500. Peace for Ukraine, 500 views. So here's Ian Smith. Bro is draining the swamp so hard right now. Trump to interview BlackRock's Rick Reeder for Fed chair position. Here is Carrie Wheeler on MAGA voted for this. I'll let her play. She does a good job. I like her.
In the name of safety, well, a lot of MAGAs squeal.
This is what I voted for.
This is what I voted for.
This is what we voted for.
This is what I voted for.
This is exactly what I voted for. This is what we voted for. This is what we voted for.
Okay, did you also vote for the most transparent regime in history, aggressively blocking transparency on the Jeffrey Epstein files? Daddy Trump teaming up with powerful technocrats to rapidly escalate the digital police state in the name of safety? Wasn't your freedom more important than that? His Department of Justice defending FDR-era gun control? Doing the bidding of a warmongering, corrupt government whose wealthy supporters just happened to funnel millions upon millions of dollars into his presidential campaign? The cost of living continuing to increase while your master lies to you that grocery prices are coming down? Continually adding to the multi-trillion-dollar debt with no viable plan to reduce it? PSA, tariff revenue, which you're paying for, can only cover a fraction of the interest on the debt every year. The CIA further extending its tentacles into foreign affairs, continuing bombings and foreign entanglements from establishment presidents past, pardoning a drug trafficker while claiming to be fighting drug traffickers, allying with and arming extremists and inviting them to the White House, anti-free trade policies like the government now owning part of Intel and bailing out farmers harmed by big government tariff policies, sending billions to bail out a foreign country, removing meager safeguards against mass surveillance as immigration authorities expand their spying, tracking, and harassment powers to use on citizens and non-citizens alike, and more corporate incest as megalomaniacs team up to exploit and enslave you. Did MAGA really vote for all that? Despite ruling class narratives that the government works for you and your dear leader cares what you want, voting doesn't give you the power to pick and choose what authoritarians do. It just tricks you into thinking you have agency in this dystopia while the ruling class imposes the same agenda as always. But that's easy to forget when politicians and the media crush the masses with mountains of propaganda that keep them terrified, submissive, and caught in a beta bitch delusion where daddy government serves and protects them. And that this false sense of security is more important than freedom.
Make sure I get the right thing over there. Larry Fink just said the quiet part out loud. Every asset, every currency, every transaction, tokenized, tracked, and routed through digital wallets you don't control. They're not hiding it anymore. This isn't innovation. It's permission-based existence. Guarantee they'll talk about that at the WEF this week. Or next week, I'm sorry. Here's RFK Jr. They did a milk thing. Milk is back. Whole milk. I think it's in schools is the main thing. So he goes, "Do you want freedom to choose real raw milk from your local farmer?" And I retweeted it the other day. I get it with or without government approval. It's just like you should. You don't need the government to tell you what you can drink and eat. You should be able to figure that out on your own. And if you need daddy government to do it, then there's an issue there somewhere else. Here is in Mar-a-Lago a couple days ago. This is back January. This is the 14th. Many people were talking about this or showing it. So you had it was a big Israeli Zionist party going down in Mar-a-Lago right there. Here is outside entertainers wearing dog mask and Rococo era 19th century European aristocratic court costumes dance for Mar-a-Lago guests at the party this weekend. Just kind of weird. While all you people are, struggling to get groceries, make ends meet and all that, I'm with you. You got this going on. Reporter, it's being planned. You probably heard this beginning of the week. Reporter said that the Health and Human HHS released frozen funds to Planned Parenthood. I'm wondering why this happened and why Planned Parenthood is receiving any federal funds. Trump, I didn't know anything about it. Bobby, did you? RFK I haven't heard that. So that blew up the airwaves. Apparently, Mr. The Buck Stops Here had no clue that was going on. Now they did rectify it. They had a vote saying no more. They weren't going to give anything to Planned Parenthood. But again, Mike Johnson at least came out and said anything. Here's the U.S. Senate votes 51-50 against effort to block Trump from further Venezuela military action without congressional authorization. J.D. Thiel or J.D. Vance breaks the tie because that's the good conservative guy. He's just all he is he does what his boss tells him to do. He doesn't have an independent mind to think of. President Trump orders all 50 governors in these United States to switch to paper ballots, same-day voting, voter ID, and proof of citizenship. Now, that centralization of the electorate, we shouldn't be applauding that. Now, should there just be one day of voting? Yes. It's the election day. That's it. You shouldn't have 5 weeks leading up. It shouldn't be like the playoff system with basketball. One day. That's it. Should you have an ID to vote? Yes. It's up to the state. Proof of citizenship? Yes. It's up to the state. Paper ballots? Sure. It's up to the state. The thing about any of these things is the federal government has zero authority to do any of this. You shouldn't be asking the feds to do any of it. When the feds get involved in stuff like that, it gets bad. I don't know if I posted this on Monday or not. Trump posts a photo of him as president of Venezuela. The joke is, somebody did this to him. I fixed it for it. Acting president of the United States, Benjamin Netanyahu. See, acting president of Venezuela, Trump. There was a couple guys that had a great line of, is there a non-compete clause for the president? You can't be multiple presidents of multiple areas. You can only be one. Swore allegiance of one. That's it. Battle on the ice. NATO plans for fighter jet dogfights over Greenland as Kremlin issues extraordinary statement to oppose Trump takeover. Russia's getting a little, they're poking the Russian bear a little bit. It was just kind of fun. Everyone's blaming Russia. They're eventually going to, they had an assassination attempt on Putin the other day, and it came out that the U.S. was behind that. So you can only poke that thing so much. I'll let this play it out for you. You can hear it with your own. It won't be, wow, Steve said that. But no, this is on Fox Business.
Davos, we know there's the big housing speech. What else can we anticipate?
There's also going to be some look at the new world order that President Trump is creating. And, a lot of countries that were, whining about tariffs 6 months ago and saying that President Trump was going to harm their economies had pretty good years. And I think it's in part because people recognize that President Trump has made it so that we are the.
And so they're going to talk about the new world order that Trump is putting together. Hey, that make you feel warm and fuzzy? Yeah. And I'm wondering, SCOTUS was supposed to rule on the tariffs 4 days ago, and then they moved it to 2 days ago. I haven't heard a thing yet. I don't know what they're doing. Trump's spiritual advisor and megachurch founder, Pastor Robert Morris, was sentenced to only 6 months in jail for sexually abusing a 12-year-old. Trump sure does know a lot about pedophiles. They always seem to get light sentences too, unless they're on the Epstein report, and then they just don't get anything at all. So that's probably what he's not on the Epstein list, so that's probably why he got booked. The next time you get on that list. Iranian prince calls for surgical strikes on the IRGC fighter jets, guided missile destroyers, and submarines to arrive within a week as Trump continues to threaten an attack. Now, they did back this off. This is today. Okay, this is today. Now, I think they did back it off today too. Here's ADL Jonathan Greenblatt says Americans who criticize Jews and Israel will be monitored by the FBI. We will monitor social media and check your bank accounts. I have 40 analysts working 24/7, 7 days a week. This is hostile occupation. Did I say Jews? I said news. You're hearing me wrong, Bobby. Yeah, here's the land of the free, remember. Have you heard about Sasha Riley? Yes, I have. I just don't have anything on it in this. Here's here's Treasury Secretary and former Soros right-hand man and guy who lives like Pete Buttigieg, but he got a red hat on. The U.S. stands firmly behind the Iranian people in their call for freedom and justice. At the direction of once a future King President DJT, the Treasury Department is sanctioning key Iranian leaders involved in the brutal crackdown against the Iranian people. Treasury will use every tool to target those behind the regime's tyrannical oppression of human rights. Are they talking about the U.S. or Iran? I'm confused. Aaron Med says in the first 18 seconds, the U.S. Treasury Secretary claims to speak on behalf of the people of Iran and then brags that U.S. sanctions have managed to accelerate an economic collapse. But if you want any of these things, check out underneath. There's a link for the show notes. Everything's in chronological order. There you go. Send it out to everyone else. And bada bing. Here's Iran's foreign minister says Israeli agents are killing protesters and police in an attempt to draw Trump into a worldwide conflict. They lie as they breathe. They were talking about how he's saying they lie. There's another video talking about how they were told to. Who was it the other day? Was it our guys? Was it Miller that said he? No. It was what's his face from the first administration, saying that hey, there's Mossad agents walking with the protesters and we're standing with you or something like that. And then there's another. The thing was another Iranian that came out saying. They were trying to, the paid guys are trying to shoot the cops and blame it on Iran. Here's Caitlin Johnstone. This is a great, nice write-up because she's, if you don't follow her, she cusses a little way too much for my blood though, but she does good stuff if you can get around that. This is encouraging. You can always tell how murderous the U.S. empire is being. From day to day, from the expression on warmongering Senator Lindsey Graham's face. And right now, he looks like he just found his mother dead in the bathtub. Earlier this month, Graham looked positively giddy while posing with Trump, holding a Make Iran Great Again hat and gushing about how Cuba will be the next Latin American socialist government the U.S. takes out after Venezuela. But in a Fox News clip, the South Carolina senator, I apologize for him. I don't live in his district, never did. I would never vote for him if he put a gun in my head. Shared on Twitter, he looks and sounds like he spent all night crying and punishing his internal organs with intoxicants. Quote, President Trump's resolve is not the question, Graham glumly told reporters on Thursday regarding the possibility of attack on Iran. Question is, when we do an operation like this, should it be bigger or smaller? I'm in the camp of bigger. Time will tell. I'm hopeful and optimistic that the regime days are numbered. Back to Caitlin. I personally place a lot more hope in Graham's long face than I do in recent news reports that U.S. airstrikes on Iran now appear unlikely because the U.S. and Israel have a track record of circulating disinformation about their intentions before attacking. Yes, like they say that they're going to have a meeting with Iranians. They did that last time, but they bombed them. In June, I guess she's about to say that. In June, Trump falsely announced on social media that he had hoped for a diplomatic solution with Iran regarding its nuclear program hours before bombing Iranian nuclear sites. So reports that Israel and Arab states had successfully convinced Trump to hold off on attacking Iran should be considered untrustworthy. But Graham's heartbroken whimper, I personally find that encouraging. Maybe war with Iran really has been put off for the time being. One less nightmare to have to worry about. Sometimes I think that it would be helpful to punish a daily Grahamometer, which shows Graham's face on a scale from dour to ecstatic to illustrate how evil the U.S. empire is being on a given day. When the U.S. launches airstrikes or orchestrates a regime change operation, the Grahamometer features a delighted Lindsey. And when it looks like the empire has been forced to postpone a given power grab, it shows a depressed Lindsey. People often say Lindsey Graham is gay. I don't think that's true. I don't think there's a word for the orientation, whether someone's blah, 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 blah. Here's hoping we see a lot more depressed Lindseys going forward. This was in South Carolina. I don't know if I talk about this a lot. I don't know if I ever played the clip. This was in South Carolina 2016. 2012. Yeah, I think it was in Myrtle Beach. I want to say it's 2012, 2012 or 2008. I thought it was 2012 thing. I was more focused on what was going on in 2012, so I want to say that. I met Ron once. That was great. He was in Columbia. Oh, well, speaking of Dave DeCamp, let me check out generals thinking in their masses, just like witches at black masses. U.S. surging military assets to the Middle East. Trump tells Iran he won't attack Iranian envoy. U.S. imposes new sanctions on Iranian officials. Israel kills at least 10 Palestinians in Gaza. Netanyahu phase 2 of Gaza deal, a declarative move. Technocratic committee overseeing Gaza transition revealed. That's part of, there's quite a few guys in that. U.S. seizes 6th Venezuela-linked tanker, also called piracy. Machado says she presented her Nobel Peace Prize to Trump. We got that coming up later. Israeli strikes pounds southern eastern Lebanon. Ukraine reports 200,000 soldiers AWOL. U.S. launches 2 more airstrikes in Somalia. They did 112 or something, 115 last year. So they're behind the 8 ball right now. They got to catch up. Trump threatened it for this year. They're behind the last year's pace. Court ruling may lead to rearrest of Mahmoud Khalil. Here's are you getting it yet? The Uniparty hates you. The Republican majority backstabbed their voters for the second time tonight. 81 Republicans voted with Democrats to keep funding the National Endowment for Democracy, a left-wing NGO slush fund that worked with the Brandon administration to censor Americans on the right. Elon's Doge effort specifically targeted this organization for the funding, and some of the same Republicans who cheered it on for the cameras voted with Democrats to stop it. This is after Trump joked about not having midterm election. This video resurfaced of Trump telling our supporters, "Vote just this time. You won't have to vote anymore." If you don't know, there was a thing about the other day saying about the Insurrection Act, which hope to God it does not do. And talking about if you do, and people are saying that if he does that, maybe the elections won't go down. So, now remember this was before this election. He said this. So there's always some truth in the pudding. Maybe sometimes they say things out loud a little too early. Maybe this was it. Maybe it's not. Just very coincidental that that's coming out right now. Jared Hudson, who announced his Alabama Senate campaign claiming to be America First, is an Israeli agent. When people called him out for his Israel First video where he pledges his allegiance to Israel, he hid the comments. My name is Jared Hudson. I'll be running for U.S. Senate to fight for Alabama. I'm a Christian conservative. I'm a SEAL, Navy SEAL sniper and law enforcement, blah, 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 blah. So again, it goes into it. Israel is defending their nation's sovereignty, and I stand with them. I saw a video of this. Just that there's the clip from U.S. Sun. Never before seen HD footage of uncontacted Amazon tribe emerges as armed tribesmen give unexpected reaction. Drop site news. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum publicly, because that's name, publicly pushed back Thursday against the U.S. narrative following the U.S. State Department communicate on drug trafficking and bilateral security earlier in the week. In televised remarks, she displayed photos of U.S.-sourced weapons seized in Mexico, reminding Washington the responsibility for cartel violence does not run in one direction. Quote, consumption happens here, there. Consumption happens there, over there. There is a drug distribution. There is money laundering. Scheinbaum says, underscoring the U.S. demand, financing networks, and gun trafficking fuel that very criminal groups in Washington claim to be confronting. Here's the latest photo of U.S. tracked guns seized in Mexico yesterday and reminds Washington that cooperation goes both ways. There's the guns in the background that she's putting up. Excuse me. Apparently, Trump seized Russian tankers and approved stronger sanctions because he got sick of Putin playing him like a fiddle. After Putin's pattern of obstruction and delay became obvious, the U.S. carrot and stick approach to negotiation has apparently run out of carrots. The Washington Post, stay-at-home sons are here and they're not going anywhere. Someone's probably going, what is stay-at-home sons? The Brendan Laya was kind of joking when he agreed when he was a professional stay-at-home son during his appearance on Jeopardy in May. He had just earned a master's degree in political science from his University of British Columbia and had recently sent off a raft of applications to law school, but he was between jobs and he did live with his parents. Quote, I figured, why not have some fun with it, he said. Better to be a stay-at-home son than an unemployed or schmuck or lazy guy. He certainly wasn't expecting to set off a media moment of stories and think pieces on so-called trad sons, adult men who embrace the lifestyle of living with their parents. You can read it all more in the show notes. In weather, snow in Florida, Arctic blast to stun the South, and that came out yesterday. It's approximately 35 degrees tonight. It was 20 last night. It's freezing, and they're calling for possible snow here on Sunday. I don't think it's going to happen though. A coastal storm will deliver snow to parts of the southeastern United States on Sunday, January 18th, before eyeing the mid-Atlantic coast and New England on Saturday night. Because, the funny thing about all this is like last week it was warm. Before it got cold, it was above average. And people going, our winters are getting warmer. Well, no one's saying about the winters getting colder right now. They always go for the climate change and the heat part, which was funny. It was a Wednesday last. It was 70 degrees. And they said we didn't break the record because they showed in the bottom right when the record was, and it was 1928. And they never say that. But look at your local news when they say there's a record-breaking weather, heat, and they say, because of global warming. And look and see when the records are. Usually it's like 1910, 1920, something like that. It's funny that they never bring that up. But if it's huge, they always bring that up. Here's Trump. I may put a tariff on countries if they don't go along with Greenland because we need Greenland for national security. Here's Carolyn Levitt complains that protesters are pointing their middle fingers at ICE. Someone put her ad. Okay. Protesters are pointing their middle finger, showing them who's number one at ICE vehicles. And Adam goes, didn't Trump give his middle finger to a UAW union worker 48 hours ago? It's like when they said that the lady got shot because she disrespected the ICE agent. So, and then someone goes, so if you disrespect someone, that means you get a bullet to your head? Reporter, would you want someone else's Nobel Prize? Trump, she offered it to me. Machado Nobel Peace Prize officially gifted to Trump. What is Maduro thinking right now? And I saw a couple of people say, what happened with the whole thing? Where's all the feminists going? Hey, the man took her Peace Prize thing because Trump wanted it. He was upset about the whole thing. ICE deports 5-year-old U.S. citizen from Texas to Honduras. Group said, look at her. She's definitely was the Trey in Nicaragua? Who was the MS-13? She's definitely MS. Look at her. Look at that. She's definitely she's an undercover MS-13. The worst of the worst. That's the sales pitch. We're getting rid of the worst of the worst. So they arrested a 5-year-old. A Central Texas mother and her 5-year-old daughter, a U.S. citizen. So they arrested a 5-year-old daughter and a U.S. citizen. Who is a U.S. citizen, have reportedly been deported this week by ICE. This comes less than a week after the pair was arrested by ICE agents after the Austin PD officer notified federal agents. An update, Austin baseball. Because one of the things they talk about is a lot of the defenders of ICE go, they did their research. Kristen Nolan talks about they do their due diligence. They look up, they target who they're going after. Okay, what's the excuse on this one? They targeted a mother and a 5-year-old, both U.S. citizens, and they arrested and put them out. All right. You believe in you believe more, you have to believe more. You have more faith in the fairy godmother or the tooth fairy if you believe that ICE is going around doing homework, we're targeting the right people. Prosecutors will not file charges against feds who shot into cars in D.C. Federal prosecutors said they wouldn't press charges against Homeland Security agents who shot into cars in D.C. in 2 incidents last year because the bullets didn't hit anyone. Okay. Good on that, I guess. ICE agents arrest workers from a Mexican restaurant where they just ate. ICE agents ate at a Mexican joint in Minnesota on Wednesday before arresting 3 of its employees who had just closed up the establishment for the evening. So they waited for them to close up, and then they took their stuff. I wonder if they tipped. The arrest happened in Wilmer, which is about 2 hours from Indianapolis, where ICE and Border Patrol have ramped up activities. Don't say anything about if they were. They just said they arrested him. In December, ICE agents in Brooklyn kind of pretended to be customers of the coffee shop and then lied to employees by telling them a car had been hit in the parking lot. When the workers went outside, one of them was arrested and whisked away. ICE demands documentation because of his accent in cruel video. I remember seeing this. A video posted on X has caused uproar after it showed a man being confronted, grabbed, and slammed against the garage door by ICE agents with the reason given it was due to his accent. So now it's not only do you have your papers, but because you don't talk like me, where's your papers? Trump's immigration erosion worries his team. How Americans feel about ICE operations and tactics. I would play it, but it's NBC, so I would get knocked down for having to put that up. It's in the link if you want to check it out. Stephen Miller brands ICE protesters Insurrection Network in sinister message. Now, this is one of those things. If you're on the side of Lindsey Graham, sometimes you might want to question where you stand. It's if you're on the side of Stephen Miller, I would question where you stay. If I was on the same side of that guy, I would be like, I got to rethink my prerogatives here. Well, like I said, I don't see the big deal if they're undocumented. Again, that 5-year-old was a U.S. citizen. Her mom was a U.S. citizen. Here in Charlotte, the first guy they arrested many U.S. citizens. They beat them up, busted their cars up, things like that. They didn't really get too many people here. They were here for a week, arrested 300 people, mostly on petty crimes, and that was it. Now they're using the undocumented thing. Remember, dear leader Obama has the most deportations of any president. Everyone thinks Trump and ICE are doing it right now. Obama still has the record. They still got to go on there. This is like they said, like Derek Bros said earlier in the Twitter. This is a psyop. What's going on right now? Again, I got a video coming up on this. Stephen Miller, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy and a piece of work, has labeled ICE protesters in Minnesota as an insurrection network during a recent interview on Thursday. ICE agents flouted DHS policies that could have prevented Renee Good's death. DHS tells officers to use de-escalation tactics, employ a verbal warning instead of force when feasible, and avoid placing themselves in positions that trigger the use of deadly force. As they say in here, including de-escalation tactics, using communication and other techniques during the encounter to stabilize, slow, or reduce the intensity. So what would have been good would have been something like, where's it at? I know I read it earlier. Here it is. A witness reported one of the agents initially told Good to drive away, which would have been a straightforward and peaceful way to resolve the situation. But another agent took a more aggressive approach. Get out of the car, he told her. Get out of the car. Get out of the blankety blank car. Get out of the car immediately, and then grabs the car door. So, again, the tactics. Again, people are upset sometimes, especially with me and others, saying that father says got his car flashbang, 6-month-old stopped breathing, lost consciousness, 2-year-old threw out of the car, and more. No, I have not seen that one. Wouldn't be too shocked. I'll look it up afterwards. I did see there was another guy got his eye blown off or something like that. And there was a good video about, maybe it's the video that I have coming up that said neither one should have been there. Yeah, one side he should have been there, and the other guy, the girl, should have been there. None of that even should have been there. But both sides are being radicalized to do this. It was on Channel 9. Send me the link. See if you can put the link on there. I'll post it up. Here's Republicans against Trump. Why are you asking me for my papers? ICE agent. Because of your accent. And this is not the first video. There's another video where it says the driver's looking out. Now we're going with accents. Here's Elon Musk. Time to invoke the Insurrection Act. These guys cannot wait for it. And again, when you think that, hey, Elon's not part of the team anymore, he is definitely part of the team anymore. Here is CNN put together a video, Kristi Noem claiming ICE officers are highly trained and skilled and gifted alongside to a clip of them beating someone nearly to death in Minnesota. Here's clerical hit. When 8 people struggle against 1 person, they are not well trained. Here's Jason Bassler. ICE is now using a Palantir tool to map neighborhoods and assign deportation scores in target-rich environments, fed by HHS data. Today, it's immigrants. Tomorrow, it's dissidents. If you think this won't be repurposed for activists or protesters, you aren't paying attention. And let's think about, here's a mind game for you. You see what's going on right now, what's going on one team. Let's pretend the other team gets back in power down the road. You think they're not going to use this against you? Remember 2020, people being arrested on the beach, people arrested again walking the park, walking their dog, drones used to get it. You go anywhere without a muzzle on, they got mad at you, went after you, arrested you, things like that. Again, people going to the beach, getting arrested, people playing basketball, sand being dumped on the playgrounds, things like that. Now it's the other side. Eventually it'll go the other way. They're just like teeing it up. Here's the assist. They're going to get something afterwards. No, the link didn't come through. Let me see if I can type it in. Minnesota, Channel 9, flashbang. I think that's 6 when you see this must be it right here. Excuse me. North Minneapolis ICE shooting, children hospitalized after a flashbang, tear gas hits van. Father says he was with the 6 children when they were hit by munitions deployed by law enforcement in response to demonstrations that turned violent in North Minneapolis Wednesday night. Parents said 3 of their children went to the hospital, including a 6-year-old baby who stopped breathing after being hit by tear gas. A large crowd clashed with law enforcement after an ICE agent shot a man in the leg, and DHS alleging he resisted arrest. You're going to say resisted arrest. They're going to say whatever they want. Remember, they got full-blown immunity. A family was caught in clashes between protesters and law enforcement during protests in North Minneapolis, leading to 3 kids. Let's see if it will play. It was kind of funny. Wait for the ad to get done. Okay, let me see. I'll go ahead and play it with the ad. There we go.
Chief Brian O'Hara addressed the public about the situation tonight that involved an ICE immigration enforcement officer and somebody that he was trying to detain during a traffic stop. That person, DHS says, was in the country illegally. There was a car that crashed. The subject apparently fled on foot, and then the ICE officer, during a scuffle, shot this person in the leg. So there was also people that apparently came out and started attacking the ICE officer as well. Those 2 people, we've been told by DHS, are in custody. But as a result of all that played out at 7 o'clock tonight, there is this big crime scene. And you just heard MPD and the mayor talking about how they've been trying to preserve the integrity of the crime scene, how they have Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, the FBI investigating.
Protesters out there, you are engaging in unlawful acts. Unlawful assembly has been identified with this one, and you are to leave the scene immediately. He was very pointed about that, and he reiterated it as well. And Mayor Fry, he started out saying this is unsustainable. What he was referencing was
reiterating their numbers, that the integrity of the crime scene. One thing that is
chief.
And the governor tonight.
No, they're not showing anything about that. Okay, what they're saying: Father Sean Jackson told the Fox 9 reporter at the scene his children were hurt by a flashbang detonating nearby. He says the blast was strong enough to set off his vehicle's airbags. Officers threw flashbangs and tear gas into my car. I got 6 kids in the car. Did they not see the kid? I mean, it was a minivan, and they said, hey, let's throw stuff in the air. My 6-year-old can't even breathe. This was flipped over, holding up the child's car seat. My car filled with tear gas. I'm trying to pull my kids from the car. His wife, Destiny Jackson, told Fox 9 their 6-year-old stopped breathing. She then performed CPR on her baby while others poured milk on her other children in an effort to neutralize the tear gas. I guess they had milk on hand. 3 of the children, including the baby, were then taken to the hospital by ambulance for treatment. All the children are between 6 months and 11 years old. Destiny says they have never gone out to protest, but this incident has given her the drive to do so. I understand. My kids were innocent. I was innocent. My husband was innocent. This shouldn't happen. We're just trying to go home. I believe it is something like that.
But we do continue to follow more unrest from last night. We were just telling you about it before the break. A man, according to DHS, Department of Homeland Security, was shot in the leg by assaulting the federal agent, his children.
On the way home,
how did you end up last night? Bring them in they were there and first. You may have also seen or heard from a Minneapolis family who was there in their vehicle during some of this chaos. A couple and their 6 children, ages 11 years old all the way down to 6 months. They were there and they wanted to share some of what happened to them last night. We spoke with them a little bit this morning, last night, and then this morning on the phone. The father spoke with us on scene after emergency responders were able to take his children to the hospital. So we wanted to play you first a little bit of last night's scene before we bring them in for a conversation.
Officers threw flashbangs and tear gas in my car and made I got 6 kids in the car. But my 6 months old can't even breathe. My 2-year-old then flipped out the damn car. This was flipped over. My car filled with tear gas. I'm trying to pull my kids out the car.
Sean Jackson and Destiny Jackson join us now. He was the gentleman we spoke with last night. And
so here's man. We're not changing guidelines. We're restoring common sense. Whole milk is back in a glass. Real food. Okay, you get it. I talked about this earlier. Try to get by now. Just get through. MAGA sycophants are, I think it's so funny to watch feds assaulting. Oh, I don't have the thing down. My bad. I did it again. There we go. This is what I had before. Here's the link of the whole milk is back in a glass. MAGA sycophants think it's funny to watch feds assaulting people in the streets, but they'll be the first to cry and screech with their outrage when this power is inevitably used against them. And even then, most of them won't see the connection between the oppression they're endorsing today and their own oppression tomorrow. Here's what I was looking for. Let's see, or I was telling you about earlier. I'll play that. It's a long show. Sorry for its length.
But hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to dive into something that's blowing up right now and very controversial. ICE deployments across the United States. If you're a Trump supporter on the right, you're probably cheering this on. If you're on the left, you're probably hating this. But here's what most people are missing is this whole mess is a classic setup. Think about it. The Democrats on the left opened the floodgates under Biden and Obama, letting mass immigration spiral out of control. Why? So the right could swoop in with their solution. It's the age-old left-right paradigm. Create the problem, spark the reaction, and roll out the fix. Republicans haven't been innocent either. Plenty of them pushed pro-immigration policies in the past, just not as extreme. We're all falling for the oldest trick in the book, over and over. The left and right aren't enemies. They're tag-teaming us. They keep us divided, pushing their partisan agendas to strip away our freedoms and consolidate power at the top. And now, People are applauding what could become a full-blown police state. Once this precedent is set, what's stopping the Democrats from flipping the script when they're back in power? Using the same tactics against conservatives? It becomes a vicious cycle, and in the end, everyone gets screwed. It's heartbreaking because this isn't just theory, it's leading to real harm, even deaths. We're seeing attacks not just on immigrants, but on US citizens too. Take that recent viral incident. A woman shot point blank in the face 3 times by an ICE officer. The right says, he was about to get run over, he had to defend himself. The left counters, she was swerving to avoid him. He was already clear, and it was overkill. More division, more outrage. People are getting hurt and killed while we bicker. My hot take? Both sides are wrong and both are acting like idiots. The ICE officer? He's out there playing government enforcer, seemingly taking pleasure in the chaos. This woman wasn't aggressive. She was trying to escape, swerved to miss him, and he still fired after stepping aside. But her? Why escalate by protesting, blocking streets, and poking the bear? It was never going to end well. The real tragedy, they've both been brainwashed. Him by the right-wing machine, her by the woke left, and the rest of us, we're just as insane for picking sides. The sane approach? Neither should have been there in the first place, but common sense doesn't sell. Mainstream media and social platforms thrive on polarization. They won't push unity because it threatens the real power players. Those oligarchs, corrupt politicians and billionaires pulling the strings. Instead of fighting each other in the streets, we should be uniting against them. This is all by design, folks. Mass immigration? Engineered chaos to justify boots on the ground in a surveillance state. We're hurtling toward an AI surveillance grid, controlled by technocratic elites.
Just in case you don't know what that photo is, this photo right here is from day one of this administration, of Stargate. Look it up. You can see right there, January 21st, 2025. That's the Stargate thing announcement. And here's you see at the bottom. Trump announces Project Stargate, largest AI infrastructure project by far in history.
Hurtling toward an AI surveillance grid, controlled by technocratic elites like Elon Musk, Sam.
By the way, there's Bill Gates next to his wife right there.
Altman, Larry Ellison, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Peter Thiel, and the list goes on. Drones, robots, facial recognition everywhere. And it gets scarier. They're soon going to roll out AI-driven robots to replace human officers. No more slim chance of compassion, just cold, efficient machines. Stronger, faster, deadlier. With pinpoint accuracy from a mile away. Tie that to programmable digital currency, digital IDs, social credit scores, carbon credits. It's a technocratic nightmare, blending the worst of communism, fascism, and socialism, ushering in an authoritarian state unlike the world has ever seen. Total control, cheered on by the masses because we're too divided and distracted to see it. Even Trump is in on it. The guy who fast-tracked those poison vaccines, printed money like crazy, wrecked the economy with lockdowns, bombed and invaded countries at will, slapped on tariffs, sparking global chaos. He's not your savior. It's all order out of chaos, the globalist playbook. Tear down the old system to build their empire. We're on the brink, people. With robot armies, drone swarms, AI surveillance, and even data centers in space, escape might be impossible soon, if we're not already there. So let's snap out of it. Put aside the left-right BS. The real enemy isn't across the aisle, it's the puppet masters controlling both sides, not just in America, but worldwide. Political parties are tools for their AI-backed enslavement agenda. We're entering wild times. Time to wake up because we're in deep trouble. If this...
I can't say it any better than what that was right there. But again, people like playing team party politics. Keep hitting the wrong button. Where are we at? Yep, there we go. Frozen. Okay, where we are back here. Screen share. Here's the last one right here. Somebody actually is talking about this outside of me.
Police departments have already used Flock to prosecute women seeking abortions in legal states, and ICE has already used Flock to monitor immigrant populations. This sharing of your footage is a huge expansion of the surveillance.
So again, talked about Flock before. More people are now talking about it as well. I didn't want to play the whole thing just in case she said a wordy dirt, because a lot of people, especially women, like to cuss on things. But I haven't watched the whole thing. You just saw like, hey, somebody else is telling me about it. Anyway, this day in history, 1978, NASA's first female astronauts. 2021, American record producer Phil Spector died at age 80. 2017, Astronaut Eugene Cernan died at age 82. 2006. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was sworn in as president of Liberia. 1992. Civil War in El Salvador ended with the government and the Liberation Front signed a peace accords in Mexico City. 1991. The Persian Gulf War was declared on began and triggered by Iraq's operation. Continued. The ceasefire was declared on February 28th. So the Gulf War began. Yeah. 1973, last episode, Bonanza, dun, 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 aired on NBC as a popular Western, ended after 14 years. 1934, opera singer Marilyn Horne was born. 1883, the Pendleton Civil Service Act, sponsored by Senator George Pendleton of Ohio, established Civil Service Commission of the United States. 1556, Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor and King of Spain, renounced his claim to Spain. 1547, Ivan the Terrible was crowned Tsar and Crown Prince of all of Russia. Anyway, have a great rest of the night. Thank you guys for staying. A wordy dirt. I don't know if they're going to say a wordy dirt or not. Have a great rest of the night. We must see the new fan. Yes, yeah. Get to the first Saturdays. Do the 5 rows. Do the first 5 Saturdays. Do more of them. Do 5 and then do more. Another 5. Do another 5. Do 5 for someone else. Say the rosary. Wear a scapular. All that stuff. Everybody do that. This father has gone to promise our AI video. One channel has taken their stuff down. I think they took it down voluntarily, but they popped up on others. So stay vigilant on that too. If you see something, you already know. I gave you guys the blueprint what to do. Knock them, hit them. Put the impersonation stuff, the counts on it, because they're going to keep popping up like gremlins. It's like whack-a-mole, as we said. If one pops up, another one pops up. We've been doing it for over a year, so these guys do not stop. They have stopped putting up videos from my channel to theirs because Father and I look at it, or Father will see it. He'll send me to or I see it, or he'll see it, and we knock them down. So they stopped doing that. That's other people's channels. They will. I've asked some guys personally, hey man, you got to take this down. They won't do it. But anyways, you see those AIs of Father, just keep pounding on those, keep hitting them with the reports, and that's the only way to do it. Is just keep going away. They're not going to stop. Anyway, have a great weekend. God love you. Thank you for everything. Check out the Census Fidelium TV for the app. Check out like I said, I'll put it in underneath in the thing afterwards, the fundraiser for Census Fidelium. Please, it's at censusfidelium.com. You can join Patreon over there. You're doing PayPal. I got 48,000 places you could do anything from. If someone doesn't like one, there's another one for you. So please help out on that. And have a great rest of the week, and see you on Monday. Where's the thank you button?